I have to tell you the truth. There was a time when I kind of stopped. Like when I pulled my daughter out of school, it was like, all right, I've got her. Like I can see her, and I'll talk about that another time. And I really didn't want to talk about it too much because we were dealing with this. We were dealing with it through prayer. It was very real. It caused many times, us to be able to lose sleep, and changing our sleeping arrangements just when I was like, yes, I have got her in her own bed. Whoopee! So happy about that. Then epilepsy happened, and you know, came into our lives with this diagnosis, and it was like, okay, I want to watch her. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. I was like, no, she's going to sleep right next to me. So if there's anything, if she moves, I am going to be her personal alarm, right? I'm going to be her personal seizure device or whatever it was, so that I can, see and even try to see if I can, get her out of it. And that's not really the easy thing to do, but it's good to be there. Okay. So I want to talk about some myths versus facts about epilepsy. And so here's a myth. People with epilepsy have an intellectual disability. You ever hear people say that? Oh, they have an intellectual disability. They're not able to get good grades and all of these other things. Well, that's not necessarily true, right? And the one thing that I say to my daughter is do your best, right? I'm like, hon, as long as you do your best, you're doing great. But I want you to do your best, okay? It's like, don't, feel like because you were diagnosed with this condition that you don't have to try. That, parents, that kind of gets us a little bit. You got to try, right? But it's not an intellectual disability. Epilepsy is a physical condition. People may have high or low intelligence just like anyone else. Did you hear that? So we don't want to say, oh, yes, all the people with epilepsy, they have low intelligence and name call and different things like that, right? Because people who don't have epilepsy or a disability, sometimes you hear people say it all the time, they struggle sometimes with a particular topic, whether it's math, science, English, reading, whatever it is. We all have our favorite thing that we like to study in school, and some things that we need to work a little more diligently with, and that's like math or whatever it is. So let's not believe that that is not true, that it is an intellectual disability. Epilepsy is contagious. That's a real good one right there. Oh, I don't know if I should be around them or if I should touch them, or I don't want my children to be around them. Well, why not? What do I always say? You all know what I say. All children are special and all children have needs. Some of those needs are just different from others, right? All children are special. All children have needs. Some of those needs are just different from others. So when we talk about special needs, which was something I didn't like to hear before. No, my child is not special needs. No, that's what I used to know, right? She has her exceptionality. I didn't want to hear that. Other health impaired, because I just felt like she was going to be, picked on and all of these different things. And regretfully, in some ways that did happen, but we'll talk about that another time. And then, the mama tigress had to step up, the mama bear. Okay, so you can't catch epilepsy from another person. That's just, you can't do it. That's like saying, oh, that person has diabetes. I shouldn't sit in a room with them, or they have high blood pressure. I shouldn't be around them because I might catch it. This is not germophobic. It is not, okay? It is not at all. All right. You should place a spoon in a person's mouth to hold their tongue down where they are having a seizure. That is not true. You should never put anything in a person's mouth while they are having a seizure, because it could cause physical damage. And why do I say that? I say that because sometimes while a person is having a seizure, they're, they can clamp down. And if they clamp down and there's a metal spoon or something in their mouth, that's not a good thing, right? So, no. no spoons. We did that when we were in high school because that's what they told us. Put that phone in there, put that in their mouth and all of that. And no, we don't do that. Okay? So the other thing is we should not, hold a person down, hold them, restrict that movement, try to stop them. Well, no, we can't do that. Now, do I believe in the power of prayer? Absolutely. Have I prayed sometimes and then thank the Lord, the seizure has stopped? Absolutely, it has. I'm going to speak from my own experience. But to be able to hold someone, that's not a good thing too, because, you can get hurt. They're moving and they're not even cognizant. They're not in control of their movements. Okay. And so we don't want to do that. We don't want to hold anyone who has epilepsy. We just have to kind of watch them, make sure that they're safe. And I'm going to talk about all of those things also that you can do. I don't want to go too much into that right now, but we do want to make sure that they're safe and move things from around them. Okay. So let's talk about epilepsy and the public. Epilepsy is still not often talked about in public, right? But thank goodness with social media, it's changing. And that's why I'm here on this podcast to kind of help to change the narrative around the discussion around epilepsy, right? Let's talk about it. It's better to talk about it than not to talk about it. It's better to find out about it than to believe that we know when maybe we really don't. Find out the truth. There's nothing wrong with knowing the truth. A lack of knowledge about epilepsy among the general public means that many seizures are still unrecognized and mishandled. We talked about this on the last podcast, right? How can we, okay, so I'm going to do a little exercise with you all that I love to do when I do a workshop in the school setting, right? And so I know we were talking about like the intellectual, disability, people not being able, people thinking that they can't learn and what have you. Well, that's not true. But the reason why that does happen sometimes is because, so picture this. All right, just go with me for a little bit. We're in school. Let's pick what grade. We are in the fifth. Let's do the fifth grade. Okay, you and I. Let's just imagine we're in the fifth grade. We're all sitting there and we're learning, and our teacher, Miss Strawberry, is up there in the front, and she's teaching about, what is she teaching about? I don't know. Let's take science, okay? And she's teaching about science, and she's talking about the reproductive system. Let's do that. Because when they talk about things like that, the kids start giggling and all. So we're sitting there and we're giggling and woohoo. And she's talking about, yes, and this is, where the baby comes from. It's a reproductive system. And she's going at it. And all of a sudden, I would say to the people who were in the workshop, I would be the teacher. I'd say, now take your hands. When I cue you, I want you to take your hands and I want you to put them over your ears as tight as you can. Okay? And so let's do this. I can't do it in front of you, but I kind of want to walk you through this. So now I'm in Strawberry class. And so when I say the word, let me think what word I want to give you, reproduction, okay? I want you to take your hands, and you, who I'm talking to on the podcast, you're going to put them over your ears, okay? So yes, and the male and the female and the zygote and all of these wonderful things are a part of reproduction. And the reason why I say that is because it's a wonderful thing born in this world. Right? Now, you can't see me, but if I was telling you, I would say take your hands off, okay? Now picture this. Did you hear what I said? When you put your hands on your ears, were you able to hear what I said? Because I said a couple of sentences after I said the word reproduction. And what I said was, babies are wonderful, right? Reproduction is a wonderful thing, basically. And I'm talking, but a person with epilepsy misses part of the lesson. If it's an absence seizure, what is that? That is when the person looks a lot like they're daydreaming, but they're actually not. And so for that moment of time, some people have absence seizures like they could have like 30 of them. So during the day, if it's a child who has absence seizures, they're missing the lesson for sure, because this seizure is happening and then it's almost as if, it's over, it's coming and it's going, it's coming and it's going while the lesson is being taught. And so it's not that that child doesn't understand the lesson. They're really just missing part of it, because that daydreaming, it looks like it's daydreaming, but that absence seizure, when it happens, it's almost as if, remember, we said that lightning storm is happening on the inside. They don't hear the lesson. It looks like they're looking, but there's something different about the look, actually. If you look at their eyes, it's something different. You could tell that something is happening. And so, I've personally heard stories, and I was so glad when I started to do the workshops. It was very beneficial for this reason, because there were some children who would start to have seizures for the very first time, just like my daughter. This would happen sometimes on a learning tool. Why? I wish I knew. I wish somebody could tell me why. Maybe, was it already there? Was there some underlying factor? Is there something that's attributing to it? I have my own thoughts about this. Okay. I really do. In this heightened world of social media and Wi-Fi and all of these things, who knows? I don't, right? But could it play a part? I think that's why they say that we have to have restrictions and boundaries around how long a child is actually on, a piece of equipment, electronic equipment, their phone, the tablet, the television, the this, the that, the computer. It's a whole lot for brains that are still being developed to handle. And I know to the child, believe me, listen, if you're a parent, some of you don't have that struggle, right? And some of you, it's like, okay, give me the phone, give me the phone. And they're playing the most, sometimes the most innocent games, just drawing and things like that. But you know that they need to get off. So, there it is that the child is having, this absence seizure. And so what are some of the things that can possibly happen with these stigmas, or what is it that people may say to a child or even to an adult who may be having a seizure or who has epilepsy? And I hear all kinds of things. Oh, that's not even, you have, telling people they have control over it, and, that's not even real, or that's all in your mind. Believe you me, it's not in their mind. It's a medical condition. Do we say that to people who have, other conditions that are associated with other organs of the body? Do we say that's just in your mind? Now, can they use the power of faith? And, sometimes people say positive thinking or trust or whatever it is, having faith and just, going before God constantly in prayer. Can they ask God, for healing? Well, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that, first of all, it's not their fault. And second of all, it's not a put on. So some of the things that we hear, if it's a child who's, in class, the teacher may stop and call out their name, little Johnny, what are you doing? Are you listening to me? And little Johnny may or may not respond at that moment. And if your child's name is little Johnny, believe me, I don't know them. These are just names that I think about. But they can't respond. And so she may, can you hear me? Tap them on the shoulder. I'm talking to you. What is wrong with you? And we may be reprimanding a child who's actually having a seizure, who doesn't need to be reprimanded. So if we see as adults some behavior that seems a little, out of the normal scope, it's a little different. What's going on with this child? I've never seen them act like this before. Or maybe I have seen them act like this before. Or maybe they're super tired. Or maybe they seem like they're so clumsy. Let's not just take things for face value and say that's what it is, because that may not be what it is. Maybe they're not clumsy. Maybe they're having a drop seizure. We need to find out. We need to know. Maybe they're not just daydreaming. Maybe there's something else that's going on the inside that is preventing them from blinking or from paying attention or what it may be, right? And so These are things that we as adults get